Hello class. So in this video, we're going to start looking at using the Autodesk Tinkercad program. And in this video, we're going to walk through a few of the features for this next assignment. So once you get in here, you're going to simply click on Create New Design, and that's going to create a new web page or a design platform for you. So the first thing I want to talk about here is renaming your drawing, because I forgot to mention it in the last video. When you go in to rename your drawing, you're going to simply come up here to this goofy name. So Tinkercad has this habit of giving your drawing some sort of random goofy name. And so when you go to change this, once again, you're going to use your first and last name, give it a dash, and then give it the actual drawing name. So if this was called, let's say, 10 blocks, you would just simply call it 10 blocks. And so now I've changed the name of the file with my name as well as the drawing name itself. So that's the first step you're going to want to do. The second thing I want to call your attention to is right down here in the middle bottom section. And it says Edit Grid, and then it has Snap Grid. Let me talk about this for just a minute. So if you click on Edit Grid, here's where you're able to set up the grid properties. So for these drawings, you're going to want to go ahead and change it over to inches. And then for your default platform, I'm going to encourage you to change your size. Let's say, for example, to, a 5-inch by 5-inch. So I'm going to select those and change it 5 by 5 and update grid. Notice it's going to give you a smaller working platform, and it's going to increase the grid sizes where them little grid marks are a little bit bigger, easier to see. I want you to also go ahead and change your snap grid. So snap grid here is the settings for how how an object jumps, okay, to be a certain size. So let me explain what I mean. So whenever I set my snap grid to a number that's really large, let's say 1/2 inch, if I go to change the size of this, it jumps by those snap grid settings. So notice it goes from 1 inch, bam, 1.5 inch, bam, 2-inch jump, okay? If I change that snap grid to something super small, like for example, off, I can drag this to random different numbers here, but notice for my numbering is 1.485. So it has a very small, very tight, or not a nice even number, I guess, to be used for that. So starting out for this drawing set, I want you to turn it to a 1/4 inch snap grid. Okay, and so your grid itself, once again, should be 5 by 5. And your snap grid should be set to a 1/4 inch. That's going to help you on this next drawing set. So you're going to simply create your next drawing. In the Google Classroom, it's going to tell you what all drawings that you're going to be doing. And so this one here is going to be, let's say, 10 blocks. So I'm going to simply I'm going to come in here now, and I'm going to start changing the sizes. So excuse me. So on this next one, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be replicating a number of different shapes. And what we want them to do is we want them to look to be proximate value, meaning they need to be close. Now, in this particular case, once again, this is not exact engineering precision. It does not have to be down to the hair thickness or anything like that, but it does need to be close in representation. And so on the blocks drawing, you are more than welcome to take a ruler and measure it on your screen just to be able to get an approximate value of, let's say, the height versus the width versus the length, those types of things. Or you can eyeball it, but I want you to get it pretty close and make sure that it's not too far off the mark. So in this particular case, I'm going to have a box, and that box, by the way, if I grab one of these white nodes, it'll tell me the size of it. I can type in the parameters. So a 1 inch by, let's say, 1.25 inch, I can make that box a little bit larger, a little bit wider. If I grab the height one, I can change that. Let's say that was 2 inches high. I can tell it specific numbers as well. In this particular case, we don't have specific numbers that you have to deal with, but the shapes need to be fairly close. One other thing here, notice that whenever you have that snap grid set to a higher number like 1/4 inch, notice that whenever you go to move your item over, notice it jumps over a 1/4 inch spacing. If you change that to something really small, notice you can get pretty close, but it's going to be off just a little bit. So notice there, I've aligned them, but it's still off a little bit. It has that little gap right in there in between. So that's another reason for this next drawing assignment. I'm going to have you set a very large snap grid so that it makes it easier on you to join items together, making sure there's no gaps or anything like that. So once again, I'm going to set that block there. Then I'm going to do another one. And this particular one, I'm going to change, somewhere about right here. And that looks pretty close. Once you have these items drawn, what you're going to do is you want to group them together. And notice if I select on one, it does not highlight my group option up here. But if I hold my shift key, and I can shift now and select multiple items together. Okay, so once again, let me click out of that. When you select one object, it highlights the properties and it gives it a little bit of a shading color. If you hold your shift key and you select with your mouse your second one, it turns it a little shaded, and you can click your third one and it's a little shaded. Now, whenever I come up here to the group command and I group it, now this one particular item is joined together. And notice now it is one solid object. Okay, and you can move that off to the side and you can start on your next one, and whatever the size is of that one, what you're going to do in this process is you're going to create these different shape looks. And I want you to get into the habit of learning how to link different shapes together to represent the approximate drawing value. Okay. All right. So in this video, we've talked about setting your name. We've talked about changing the grid look, and we've also talked about the snap grid, setting that. Once you have your blocks drawn, and in the assignment details, it will tell you all the details of how many you have to make and so forth. But once you have all these drawn, you're going to, the program auto saves it. So you don't have to click on save or anything like that. But what you're going to do is you're going to go into Google Classroom and you're going to mark this drawing as done. When you mark this drawing as done, I'm going to go in through the Tinkercad Classroom, and then I'm going to go in and look at what you have done on your drawing. Okay, so whenever I go in here and go to classes, I'm going to actually click on your class, and it's going to bring up all of your all's names in my class, and it's going to bring up your drawings. And I'm going to simply go in there and click on your assignment. So if this was your assignment that you just did, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go to Tinker this, and it's going to load that drawing platform. And then I can go in here and I can look at your shape, or actually you'll have multiple shapes. So I'm going to look at all of your shapes and make sure that they were done according to the drawing. As always, please let me know if you have any questions on this. I'm here to help you. And this is the instructional video for your next drawing assignment.